This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good morning, Tuscaloosa. Good morning, Tuscaloosa, internet world, West Alabama. How are we doing today on a Monday? It's the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com. Hope you and yours are having a great day. We are having a great day. We just got off the Alabama practice field, and so we are here to talk about it inside the Coleman Coliseum media room. We're going to have a lot of fun with Theo Fernandez. The program is brought to you by Derek Daniel State Farm Insurance. You can call Derek for all of your insurance needs at 205-758-3391. Like a good neighbor, Derek Daniel is there. And we're also brought to you by Purple Turtle Roofing. You can check them out online at roofturtle.com for all their products and services, metal roofs or shingle roofs, commercial roofs, or residential roofs. They'll take care of you. Check them out at roofturtle.com for everything roof related. We're going to have a lot of fun with our friend Theo Fernandez. You can follow him at Theo Fernandez _ on the Twitter machine. He looks like he's getting loaded in the back end right there. Absolutely. Here he is. We are ready to talk about some Alabama football. So we appreciate everybody who watches us on the Bama Central YouTube channel, Facebook page, listens to us on Apple Podcast, Amazon, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can get the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Good morning, Theo. How we doing? How was the weekend, sir?
Doing great. Weekend was good. Final weekend outside of Alabama, so I am ready to get back. I will be back in Tuscaloosa in a matter of 3 days, but good, relaxed. Summer's over. Time to get to work.
Absolutely. Summer is over, and the boys were back at practice again today. So we had our third practice viewing, 3 of 5. Right. So we're going to have one more tomorrow, and then we will have one next week as well to round out the fall camp practice viewings. And if you haven't watched the show, if you haven't listened to this show too much, and this is your first time, you must realize we only get about 15 or so minutes of practice viewing. And today I was assigned to the quarterbacks, Theo. I did offensive and defensive line last week. I did linebackers last week, and so Katie asked me if I would look at the quarterbacks today. And of course, they're off in the far field. You got the defensive line right in front of you. So Steve Bolabumwa was very distracting to me. He is a large human being, and got a lot of praise from the coaches today as he was going through drills. So I watched the quarterbacks through the defensive linemen, and you had Austin Mack still taking your first reps. You had Keelan Russell taking your second. Then it was Jet Tamala, Taden Evankawa, and the rest of the quarterbacks behind them. And all we really saw was just the first portion was handoffs. We're stretch zone. We're handing the ball off. And one interesting note to me, Theo, is that Austin Mack was handing the ball off to A.K. Deer, while Keelan Russell was handing the ball off to Daniel Hill. So A.K. Deer was leading the running backs through their portion of practice today, with Daniel Hill being second. So we saw handoffs for a little bit, and then they started throwing throwing passes, dig routes to tight ends, and most of the passes were fairly accurate. Austin Mack had one that was a little high, but could have been caught. It was dropped. It came right off the guy's hands. So it could have been caught. Caleb Edwards, they didn't connect on one of their passes, but look, it's just a bunch of passes against air, and then they excuse us out of the field. So it was a good time seeing the quarterbacks. They have arms, they have legs, they're wearing black jerseys, and they're still competing for starting job. Oh, it looks like I lost Theo. Okay, great. That's no problem. I was waiting on his response. And obviously did not come. So look, here's where I stand on the quarterback position, where we are on Monday. We had media days. Yeah, he's texting me. It's all good. We had media day on Saturday where we spent time with about 15 or 20 different players on the roster and got to speak to, you can see it on the Bama Central YouTube channel. I personally wasn't very happy with my own performance. We'll just be honest about that. I was a little fumbly with my words, which happens sometimes, but that's okay. The thing that I took away from the media day portion was not necessarily what we talked to Caleb Edwards. I talked to London Simmons. I talked to Isaiah Fega. I talked to Ivan Taylor. But really just observing the team with the fans, because it was a big old Yay Alabama event, and I think that it went pretty well from what I could see. Lots of high level, good interactions, autographs, photos, lots of smiles, lots of shaking hands. But what I thought was a little interesting was having Keelan Russell. They assigned some of the more prominent players positions to stand so that the fans could create lines to come say hello and come get their autograph, come get their photo, that kind of thing. They had Keelan Russell up behind a backdrop. They did not have Austin Mack up behind a backdrop. Now, does that mean anything really? No, it doesn't really mean that much. But I just am wondering if that was a subtle, we know Keelan Russell is going to be more popular, so we're just putting him up against the backdrop so everybody can take the photos. Look, Austin Mack was mingling with all the fans, absolutely was mingling with all the fans. Hey, Theo, how we doing? You okay?
I lost you there for a second. We're back. I can hear you now.
All right, sounds good. Sorry for that. I finished my little. Oh, here's what I saw at practice, and sat there. And oh wait, I just lost Theo. Before I keep going, I'm talking about media day on Saturday and just what I observed from really the quarterbacks of the team and the fans. But before I keep going, I left you with A.K. Deer taking first running back reps and Daniel Hill second in the running back order. You make anything of this, or we're still so early that it doesn't matter?
Well, this is exactly what I think the position that we want to be in is, right? Daniel Hill was serviceable in his role last year, and you would ideally like him to play a similar role where somebody is able to step up and take a clear RB1 spot from him, and obviously A.K. Deer would be the front runner to do that. So if you have A.K. Deer truly taking the first team reps because he has gone out and earned them and deserves them over Daniel Hill, then you have a running – like this bodes pretty favorably for the running back game. And you still don't want to look too much into things this early, but I mean, that's got to be a promising sign, I'd say.
Yeah, so I think there's a little bit of that, trying to push A.K. Deer along, but I also think there's a little bit of having just the quarterbacks as familiar as possible, handing off to multiple different running backs.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you want both of those guys will be getting the ball from either quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. So I spun forward to talking about Saturday because I was trying to pivot to when you left, and I was just kind of giving my overall thoughts on the quarterback battle and where we stand. Because, like I said, you saw Austin Mack still leading the drills today. But on Saturday at the media day, just to catch everybody up and to re-catch you up, Theo, you had all the players out in the Hank Crisp facility, and a lot of the prominent players were standing in different points so that, the fans could create lines to get autographs and lines to get photos, that sort of thing. Well, Austin Mack, from what I saw, did not have a designated spot to stand. You had Keelan Russell off in one spot. You had Bray Hubbard off the opposite side. And so their lines basically just mirrored each other going the opposite ways. And so, I don't want to paint the picture. Look, it doesn't really matter. That doesn't really matter. But when you're looking at every little thing, if you got the whole competition under a microscope, it does make me pause just a little bit and wondering about what Austin Mack's really standing is. Then you spin forward and you see the clip that Katie Wyndham already put out for us from Saturday where 12 or so different Alabama players waited in Keelan Russell's line with the Alabama fans. They all waited in line, and then as soon as it was their turn, they crowded him and mocked him up and took big pictures as a group. And so just from that interaction alone, I thought, oh, wow, is the coaching staff trying to tell these Yay Alabama members something subliminal, something without telling them, right? They're not going to announce what it is right now. But I just wondered if this is a small sign of, we kind of already know that Keelan's going to be the guy that everybody wants photos with because he's going to be the starter, maybe. So we're going to put him over there to take those photos. Now, go forward to today. You still see Austin Mack taking the starting, taking the first reps just through these early portions of practice, through these early, look, we only saw 3 periods, period 6, 7, and 8. And so they weren't doing any team drills, but Austin Mack took every first rep. Going even further forward, Thursday is your first scrimmage. Thursday's your first scrimmage, and then the next Thursday is your second and final scrimmage, August 20. We were told at the very beginning of camp that, I think we want to take this all the way to the second scrimmage. And you remember last year, Ty Simpson was named the starter after the first scrimmage. Well, okay, so everything in context, we want to take this all the way to the second scrimmage. Theo, I think that Keelan Russell is the starter, and I think that almost everyone knows it. But I think that you want to give Austin Mack every little bit of chance to win this job based on the loyalty that he's shown to you and that you want to show to him. And so you take it back to last year and, okay, does it even matter at 8A who's taking the first reps, who's taking it? Does it really matter what happens? No, it doesn't matter. Austin Mack takes the first reps. He does fine. He's dealing with a little injury. He gets pulled. Keelan Russell gets thrown in. All summer long, Austin Mack still barely ahead. We don't know, barely ahead. And now we've rolled into fall camp, and he's still taking these first reps, right? We don't know. He's still barely ahead. But then I hear Ryan Grubb in my head thinking, well, Keelan Russell's taking care of the football much better this summer. And it's just like, holy smokes, that's the only thing you really wanted to see from his game. And so you put all the puzzle pieces together, and I think they're going to name Keelan Russell the starter after the second scrimmage and tell Austin Mack, I'm sorry, man, you had every opportunity to win this job, but we're just out. Just the wow factor from Keelan Russell is having us go in a different direction.
You've officially been flipped. An official flip.
Yeah. I mean, I still want Austin to do well, and like everything that I said over the summer about him, leading the team and being barely in front in the quarterback position. I believe that's the truth. I still believe that was the truth. I think that you just are going to have a hard time keeping Keelan Russell off the field, and I think that the timeline that they have outlined of let's take it all the way to the second scrimmage. It really just allows the more veteran guy, hey, you've got all this time to win the job. Can you do it? And now you still may see him. Like, I could be wrong. So we'll see. But, yeah, I do think I'm flipping.
Bingo. There we go. And I don't think that this is decided yet. I think there's still absolutely a world where Keelan Russell goes out and really just lays an egg in one or two of the scrimmages, and Austin Mack is able to show, look, guys, I am the veteran. I am going to be the more polished guy. I'm not going to make these mistakes. By no means is it decided right now. But I've been absolutely in the camp that you just put yourself in, and I think that you aren't going to be able to deny Keelan Russell these opportunities. With that being said, the idea of, look, every quarterback, every person is different, right? So if we're at a media event, Keelan Russell is probably a more, a bigger name for the media. It's no indictment on QB capabilities, or it's just, even as a backup, he's a very marketable, he's a very well-liked backup, right? And, I don't really look too much into, the team going to swarm and hang out with him. And that's the teammates. It's good team chemistry. Especially, it was Yamze Pierre who said he would name Austin Mack the captain, right? It's not like there's any dislike or Austin Mack or anything, but I do agree that he'll end up with Keelan Russell taking the first snap against East Carolina.
Now, look at the flip side. If you were trying to sell me on Austin Mack and say, hey, look, he's throwing footballs with the young Alabama fans the entire hour and a half. What else would you want from your starting quarterback? I mean, I think I buy that as well. It just is. I'm not taking everything from Saturday, but I just am starting to just get a sense that Austin is still in the lead today on Monday, August 10th. But when we get to this scrimmage on Thursday, if Keelan Russell doesn't turn the football over and then doesn't do it again the next Thursday and still gives you the wow factors and maybe gives you a little bit more with his legs, I think he's going to be hard to turn away. Now, if you turn the football over in these scrimmages, if Caleb Woodson gets an interception or two, or Bray Hubbard picks you off, or Zabian, or like any of these guys pick you off, like, dude, negative mark, and the quarterback competition continues. So there's still a lot to be decided. But I do think that it's starting to trend that, this runway is not long enough for Austin Mack to hold him off.
I agree. Now, Joe, I guess the follow-up to that, I was a little caught off guard when the Ty Simpson news broke randomly last year. What are the percent odds that we're just hanging out, going about our night, Thursday, Friday night this week, and we get an announcement? What are the odds that it happens before this scrimmage? The second scrimmage?
I would say pretty low. I think it is possible, but I would say pretty low, because I think they are going to want to try to take this thing all through. Because your question with Keelan is consistency, is week in and week out. So if you do it on Thursday, Keelan, great. Can you do it the very next week and do it weekend? Because look, brother, if you're going to be leading the Crimson Tide, it's 12 weeks in a row of it's not all 12 weeks in a row of brutal competition, but you've got 9 or 10 really challenging opponents that you're going to have to be ready for. You. There's no weeks off. There's no room for inconsistency. So I think it's going to be pretty low. I'm not going to say 0, because nothing is ever 0. I will say only probably a 10% chance of starting next Monday's show with a quarterback announcement. I would say 10% or less.
I think that's very fair. I think we go through all of next week without any kind of news, right? And after, the earliest I would say it comes that would be Thursday the 21st, right? The second scrimmage. I think that's probably the earliest we get anything.
All right, so I want to move us take us all the way back to Friday, Theo, real quick, because we didn't get a whole lot of time to talk about Kane Wommack and what he had to say after the practice that we got to see, and really, I think we could have spent the whole entire press conference talking about length and frame and size, because he started to get on that tangent, and 2 or 3 reporters started asking about it. And I don't know who it was, but somebody got him on a different track. And you know how press conferences go. It just goes in a different direction. I think you could have gone the whole press conference asking about length and frame, because Wommack revealed that the last 2 seasons, he said, by our metrics, we have been in the bottom end of the SEC for the defensive front in terms of length, in terms of frame, in terms of size. And so you think back, okay, that's Tim Keenan. You think back to the last couple of seasons on the defensive front, and obviously you haven't had a real butt kicker, but then you think about the size. You look at Terrence Green, number 99, 6'5", 313, and flip my roster over. You got Devin Tompkins, 6'5", 300 pounds. Like those two right off the bat, you've gone from, I'm sorry, Tim Keenan, 6'2", 6'1", 6'2.5" to 6'5", and Tim was a big man. But the arm length is noticeably different. Continue. Desmond Umeozulu, 6'6", 255. You've brought in, I think it's Caleb. Let's see, where am I? Caleb Smith. Yeah, Caleb Smith, 6'5", 280, transferred in from Washington, and by way of Parker. Is he Parker High School? 6'1". Yeah, Parker. Perfect. And so I didn't really think about this that much, Theo. But London Simmons said, we were like last in the league in batting down passes at the line of scrimmage. And then you think about getting the run defense. We've been talking about the run defense the last 2 seasons, and it's been hit or miss. Some weeks really, really good, and some weeks you have not been able to stop anything. Think back to Florida State and Vanderbilt the year prior. Essentially, Kane Wommack said this length, the length and the arm span and the height is going to prevent us from being pushed around as much.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very different physical makeup. That is definitely probably a storyline we didn't think about enough all summer. But I like Tim Keenan a lot. Thought absolutely incredible leader for the football team. The size was hard to ignore, right? And you saw it at times. And, it's easy to think, oh, Tim Keenan, imagine if he did have a little more size, what he would be doing. That's something to think about, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see Caleb Smith playing this year, transferring in from Washington. And I don't really see a lot of these freshmen playing either. But you bring in Nolan Wilson, true freshman out of Mississippi, 6'5", 285. What are you listed as? Mari Johnson, number 26 or 25? 26 is 6'3", 290. So not as tall right there. Corey Howard, 32. He's tall too as well. Corey Howard, 6'6", 288. So, like, some of these freshmen, you're not necessarily going to see them making waves, making huge impacts this season, but you're seeing the same sort of way we started to see a body style, a body type, a body preference develop in the secondary, particularly at cornerback. You're starting to see a body style and a body preference emerge from this coaching staff with the defensive front.
Yeah, I see that. In 2028, 2029, you start to churn out the same year in, year out. This is what we recruit. This is what an Alabama defensive lineman looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll have a little bit more time left, Theo, about 10 more minutes if we want it. We don't have to take all 10 minutes, but I'm really just kind of open to other fall camp storylines, topics, discussions. We're going to hear from Ryan Grubb today. So if you have any further questions, something I can pop off to Ryan Grubb, I'm open to talking about that. It's so hard when we see so little and then we come on back-to-back days. So it's like we asked Ryan Grubb a bunch of questions on Thursday. Now, what's it going to be? A new quarterback update? Sure. Maybe we ask about A.K. Deer looking like he's leading the lines if you want to do that. I asked a ton of questions to Ryan Grubb on Thursday, excuse me. So it's going to be an interesting time with him in about 20 minutes.
It will be, and we'll have no shortage of stuff to talk about on that end of the ball tomorrow. As far as if you're looking for something that we want to talk about, I was very interested. It was our new writer, Sam Prestipino, who wrote about the tight end room last week, and I've been thinking about this tight end position a lot, Joe, and it started with we've had a lot of times where we've just gone out and straight up said you need to be much better in the pass blocking game. What do we expect from these guys in terms of catching the football? Like, I look at Caleb Edwards as I feel like there's a very wide range how his season could go. I could see some really impressive numbers. I could see some big breakaway plays and, eye-popping figures, or I could see it's not what they choose to focus the offensive game plan on. I don't really know what we're getting out of this tight end room, if I'm being honest.
I mean, great question. Do you think that Caleb Edwards will have more or less than 21 catches?
Like at face value, I'm instantly going to say more. I feel like he's an incredibly, incredibly valuable piece for your offense who should absolutely be catching the ball more than twice a game. I think you could put him.
What about 37 catches, more or less than 37 catches?
Yeah, 35, I think, is about where I would put it as of right now. You can get him the ball 3 times a game, and if you can have certain games where you're able to exploit matchups and, allow him to really eat, I just feel like he has the potential to put up some, I just went absolutely nuclear today, and here's 150 receiving yards from me against this team that wasn't prepared to stop him. Because I feel like he has game-wrecking tendencies, Joe.
I agree with that I think that he can become a matchup problem. I just threw those 2 numbers out at you because those are the last 2 years of Alabama tight ends. C.J. Dupree with 21 catches, 256, no touchdowns. And then Josh Cuevas last year, 37 catches, 411 yards, and 4 touchdowns. The issue is how many players are competing for targets. I mean, you're going to get Ryan's going to get targets, Laddie's going to get targets, and then you're going to have a third wide receiver getting targets, whether it be Sadarian Morgan or whether it be Rico Scott or whether it be Derek Meadows. I think all three of those guys will be in contention for that third role and will probably share that third role. And then when you get Noah Rogers back, he's going to be into that mix as well. And so the issue is touches. Is there's only one football. I like Caleb Edwards, and I like his athleticism a lot, and I do think he can be a matchup nightmare as both a blocker and a pass catcher. I'm really interested. Did you hear Ryan Grubb last week say that Danny Lewis was the best story of summer/fall camp? And look, if you've watched this program at any point, it's nothing against you, Danny Lewis, but it's the walking injury boot. It's the walking boot. He hasn't been healthy basically his entire time here in Tuscaloosa. I know that Coach Saban loved him during his time here. Was a big Danny Lewis guy, and I know that he's been, he's flirted with the transfer portal at different points, and I know that the coaching staff has said, yeah, we want to keep you. Don't transfer. So I don't know what to expect out of him, and I don't know really what you expect with Josh Ford, because so you ask about Caleb Edwards, and that's the starting point. But I think you're going to have 4 different tight ends really contributing. So is Caleb Edwards dominating that position enough to where the other 3 aren't getting on the field that much? I don't think so. I think you're seeing Josh Ford. I think you're seeing Danny Lewis. I think you're seeing Marshall Pritchett. You might even see some of the others that are more blocking types, but really it's those 4 to me. It's the Caleb Edwards, Marshall Pritchett, Danny Lewis, and Josh Ford. And so, how many targets are there for the tight end? Maybe 40 for the whole year. Well, how many times will Caleb Edwards be taking part of that 40? Maybe more than 25%, but not much more. Not getting up to the 1/3 range. Not taking 35% of the snaps. So somewhere between 25 and 35% of the usage at the tight end. And so what does that translate to? It's hard to say. I don't know if you're a betting man that you would be taking Caleb Edwards season totals to the bank, but I do think that he can be a very interesting piece in the passing game.
But you don't think, and this is why I think it's so interesting, I look at the freshman quarterback that we now both expect to be taking the snaps. Your tight end is your little safety blanket there. Your tight end is such a good friend to have there for an easy check down, for, take the easy way out once in a while. And I could see, especially, you look early last season, right? I would certainly expect over these first 5 weeks more tight end receptions early on in the season as Keelan Russell presumably settles into the role a little bit. And I don't know how high I'd push this upper limit, but is 50 tight end receptions a stretch?
For the whole group?
For the whole group.
No. Yeah, I don't think that for the whole group, because Cuevas had himself 37, right? Let's count them. 37. Edwards, 11. So that's what, 48 right there. Bam, 48. Oh. Mark Pritchett, 7 is 55, right? Brody Dalton had 3, so 58. Jay Lindsey had 2, 60. Danny Lewis had 2, 62. The tight ends last year caught 62 passes across, 5 or 6 different players.
I would think you passed that number this year.
62, that's a lot.
That's a lot. Now, another thing, there are a lot of different ways to go with this position group. I'm a little hesitant to get in on the Danny Lewis hype. Yes. I think it reminds me, at least right now, a little bit of what was being said about Jalen Hale at this time last year.
Yes.
I bought into the Jalen Hale a little bit. I was like, oh, this would be a cool story. He's got the speed. Look, I hope Jalen Hale has a great time at SMU this year. We saw what his production was last year, right? And
right.
So we didn't see the production. It would be a really cool story for Danny Lewis to get involved, even to, 2 receptions last year. Him showing up and being active on the field, that's an accomplishment. That's a big thing for him. Joe, I'm gonna give a bold one. I'm gonna say 75 tight end receptions for the group. I think this, unit will have a bigger role than we might expect.
You aren't kidding. That is a very, very bold number. I'm not sure if I can go that far. I think 55 is probably about at the upper limit right there. So especially look, are you going to get the running game better? Can you lean on that instead of dumping it off to a tight end?
I mean, all right, here's RTR comment.
He's right.
Marshall Pritchett a lot this season in place of Josh Cuevas. Yes. That's the thing. Like, Pritchett looks more like Josh Cuevas than Caleb Edwards, right? Yeah. And I think that adds another element for you. And you guys have heard me sing Derek Meadows' praises so much this offseason, right? With what he can do as a massive target. Well, guess what? Caleb Edwards is an inch taller and 30 pounds heavier, and if he is fully a tight end, right? He doesn't even fall into, I don't think, the category of, tall, big wide receiver that some tight ends fall into. No, Caleb Edwards is a tight end. He's a big, big vertical threat for you. He's a fun target for these QBs. And if they get into a habit of, I like Derek Meadows down there, I want to throw him the ball up, I want to give him some jump balls. I mean, you have that option with Caleb Edwards, and I think it adds another dynamic with a more polished Caleb Edwards that didn't necessarily exist last year, right? And look, a lot of this, and I like this comment a lot, but it does assume an increase in ability from Marshall Pritchett. And we don't know what he'll be like come game time, but I could see this tight end group being, one, a little more multifaceted than it was.
Yes.
The biggest and the most important, as much as I talk about the receiving game, the most important thing this group can do is pass block. That's not going to change.
Run block.
And if you can trust them in the blocking game, if you can put a tight end out there and, make defenses prepare to have to, deal with good run blocking, what does that open for you in the passing game? What does the run game as a whole open for you in the passing game? I just think there are some fun possibilities with this tight end unit.
I can't wait for Thursday because you're going to hear a lot from what happened in the scrimmage. And that's where real conclusions, I think, can happen. Because right now you're still in this battle period. You're still in this, let's get through the drills. Let's get acclimated. Let's make sure everybody knows the system and is execute. Hey, here's the call. You know what the call is. Execute, translating, listening to execution. But Thursday is going to be a really, really important day. And we will hear from Coach DeBoer after that scrimmage. So that'll be a great time to check in with BamaCentral.com. Well, we'll do the rest of the week. We got Coach Grubb at 11:40. New practice viewing again tomorrow morning, and Coach Womack after that. So it's Coach Womack at 11:45 on Tuesday. No practice viewing, no media on Wednesday, and then we are back at it with a scrimmage on Thursday. Unfortunately, we're not allowed to see the scrimmage. There will be family. There will be friends and family that they can't see that. So that's how that we will get some reports out. We'll find out how that scrimmage went. So it's a huge week. Last week, just the introductory. We really, really ramp it up this week with the scrimmage on Thursday. The boys are taking the weekend mostly off. You get Friday, Saturday off to kind of recover from that Thursday scrimmage. And then they are right back at it on Sunday at practice. So we'll have more media the following week, kind of getting you ready for the back half of August. Theo, I appreciate you, man. Make sure you follow Theo Fernandez at Theo Fernandez _. We're going to go talk to Ryan Grubb.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither 6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.